Okay, greetings everyone. Alright, so this video is on applying the 100-hour challenge. Now, the 100 hours, I use this number very loosely. In 100 hours of focusing on a meditation object, you hit a type of critical mass. The word critical mass, I use that very loosely as well. Now, let's get to the heart of this. There is a certain amount of time, averages out around 100 hours in most people, where you're highly concentrated, and the type of concentration or the frequency of concentration starts to maintain itself when you move from focus to just open awareness. So let me go deeper into this as an idea. You vital breathe. You put your intention, the concentrated mind, on vital energy. As you hold concentration, there's a certain amount of time in which your vital breathing and holding awareness of vital energy, in which the energy moves from a state that requires intention to attention to open awareness, and it's still there. Now, the difference between intention and attention is intention is the fire of the mind remaining concentrated. Attention is the observing part of the mind remaining concentrated. To open awareness is you notice that energy is just there as a constant in the background when you're just maintaining awareness of your mental space, your astral space, or your physical space. So these three steps, from intention to attention to open awareness, you get to open awareness in about 100 hours of a meditation object, a frequency, a healing energy, a life force awareness energy, whatever it might be you're working on. Okay. So in this process of developing this 100 hours, you may get there earlier, you may get there later, but it is measurable. So you measure these three stages. Do you need to apply your will? Do you need to just have open awareness? Or can you go into, or is it just attentiveness? Or can you do this with just simple open awareness? That's really up to you. Now, as you measure this, when you're focusing your willpower on vital energy, if you just move to observing vital energy, how much volume that was contained in the intent remains. And when you go to just to attention, does it back off? Do you lose your volumetric power, or does it still maintain itself? This is the first stage of hitting this critical mass. Can you hold that volume of power there by paying attention? Now, if you're doing Tai Chi and Qigong, this is where you're issuing, where you simply pay attention and relax the mechanisms and cycles, and you bounce the person with a type of awareness, but a type of non-intention. So you're going through your first real phase of development where you get a very, very accelerated growth which takes place. Okay, so your next stage to look at is you've been paying attention to running, let's say, the Tai Chi principle, and relaxing, sinking the Chi, for instance. You've done it for 100 hours, and now when you put your hands on someone and you float them, they may give a gentle feed, and you open the principle and they bounce. Measure how much intention is required to do that, how much attention is required to do that, and how much moving towards open awareness is required to get your partner to bounce. So we have these three psychological measuring stages, and in that 100-hour period, you're going to be slotting yourself somewhere along those three stages. depending on what your meditation object is, what your energetic cycle that energy takes, and what outcomes you're looking for from that energy. Do they require body mechanics? Do they require complex body mechanics? Do you have to build a body skill first? If you're doing something in Tai Chi push hands, there's a certain degree of body skill, there's a certain degree of astral energy skill, and there's a certain degree of mind skill of regulating space, frequencies, changes, sticking, adhering, all these other qualities need to be developed. So if there is a lot of layers involved, it takes longer. If there's one singular frequency, it takes less time. Take these things into account as you practice this. Now, inside of this process, you'll start to recognize that the four bases of power, talked about in Buddhism, or the quadrupolar magnet, talked about in Hermeticism, starts coming into play. You start instantaneously recognizing that there's a very, very profound psychology that comes in on the mental level, a very profound type of alchemy that's coming in on the astral level, and body mechanics that relate to these four bases on the physical level. And when you're integrating them into this 100 hours, you identify what is the personality of the energy that you're working with, what are what are the outcomes of this personality expressing itself, how does my body mechanics express this, and how does my mind regulate the spatial awareness, the frequencies, and the changes inside the process of what you're doing. How does it regulate the time, how does it regulate the space, and so forth in the mental body. And review all the videos I've done on four bases of power, quadrupolar magnet, and talking about this psychology to implement into this 100-hour challenge. And again, increases in complexity would take increases in time to master it. Now, this 100-hour challenge I like to apply to rebounding force for people doing the elastic force Qigong training. You do 100 hours of rebounding your partner with a deep level of clarity on what your body mechanics are, a deep level of clarity on what the feeling mechanics are, and a deep level of clarity on psychology, and you stand in the top 1% of Tai Chi teachers in the world. And this is a big jump, because people can spend a decade trying to understand and get there, where someone who does it perfectly the first time, after 100 hours of doing it, will stand in the 1% of Tai Chi teachers. Huge value for time. So my suggestion to you is, as you start developing this 100-hour challenge, it's an extreme accelerator. To get value out of the extreme accelerator, there's a few things that you need. This one's for you, Armando. Armando has an attraction to this yoga center for some reason, and I haven't been there yet, but I like the massage sign. That's tempting, but they're never open, so I haven't been there. Anyway, back on track. So 100 hours, you hit critical mass. Once you're tuned in, then you measure along the way: intent, attent, open mind. So this is a journey from samadhi, one-pointed concentration meditation object, to vipassana, open awareness. But because you hit critical mass and you're in that open awareness, the meditation object is just there. The pattern is just there. You can run it with the subtlest of moving the mind like a feather with non-intention, and you notice these patterns running in the background, uprooting and bouncing your training partners, or whatever the energy is. The next part of this 100-hour challenge, after you work through understanding how to measure your development and measure your progress, is how do you use the four bases to deepen the progress. And this deepening is the softening of the intent into identity, softening through the identity to the open mind, and softening from this open mind to very, very deep pattern of identity in the earth principle. This is what's happening. It's just going this is what I do, and it's part of your field. For instance, if you were looking at identifying as a Tai Chi master, you'd be looking at which Tai Chi model you want to run, what is the Tai Chi principle of your system, and then that becomes the 100-hour challenge to maintain a continuous syncing of the Chi for 100 hours through standing practices, through form, through push-outs, through rebounding, and whatever other expression you wish. And that's your 100 hours. That's where you apply your principle to. And as you go through these stages, if we move from the model of intention, attention, open mind, when we move to the 4 bases of power model, you're discerning the principle, you understand what you're doing, air principle. You identify, I am this energy. You're practicing it. Then you're modulating between the adherence of I am this to the will of amplifying and increasing this, and you move backwards and forwards between these two energetic principles. As you move backwards and forwards between identity and will, you start forming earth in the habit that you're doing. The energy just starts manifesting as a habit. This is your critical mass and earth principle. Now, your discernment is always there, looking at how to do this correctly, what is the best method of doing this, and how do I amplify this? How do I get higher value for what I'm doing for less amount of effort to make this energy run in the background? So we go through these 4 bases of power as we're working towards critical mass. Then from there, what's the center of gravity of the quadrupolar magnet? What is the center of gravity of all the teachings in Buddhism? It's equanimity through Akasha. So we want to look at how do we enter Akasha, and what is the process of recognizing the Akasha, the stillness, underneath the frequency we're working with. So before we talked about, in our last series of videos on syncing the conscious and unconscious minds, here we're doing this to get that sync on a particular frequency, to really power that frequency up and get it working. So to get this sync there, we need to, every time we hit the frequency at a peak, you recognize the frequency coming into form, and you recognize the frequency in its etheric blueprint underneath, its stillness. And it's the stillness you show gratitude for. It's the stillness you create a type of spiritual enlivening or awakening of your mind substance to the stillness underneath frequency. This is the control point of the frequency. That's why when Barden talks about the depth point of the body, the junction point between electric and magnetic, he's really referring to the Akashic substance underneath your being. And we want to go into the Akashic substance underneath what we're working with. And as we work with those tuning forks, as soon as we hit any type of peak, become very still in the peak. So the form part of you appreciates the peak through a type of spiritual excitement. The empty part of you appreciates and shows gratitude for the invoking of that frequency, and it takes ownership from an etheric perspective, from your etheric body. You're imprinting that into your identity, so it becomes a part of your psyche. This speeds up critical mass, and not only speeds it up, but gives you control, it gives you ownership, it makes things easier to do. So you really want to be riding that methodology. Okay, so we've worked from simply choosing meditation object, putting intention on vital energy until you can maintain volume through attention, and then when you move to open awareness, it's still there. The energy is strong with open awareness. We've gone through these stages. We're working now on the 4 bases. You've discerned your mechanisms. Air pillar. You've identified I am this frequency as you're practicing it. Water pillar. You've increased will to increase volume of energy while maintaining open awareness and discernment in the air, while maintaining identity and stickiness in the water, while keeping this fire focused and increasing volume. You're harmonizing these first three pillars. So these are the stages of intention, attention, I am this, and then open awareness in the air pillar. So the fire, air, and water are really an aspect of those, just psychologically reframed. The earth is critical mass. You're there. It's just happening. You pay open awareness to it. You let the energy run. You hit the frequency of that critical mass, and the energy is working for you. Now, from there, deep appreciation and gratitude within the Akasha. Go into empty prayer. Go into the stillness. Show gratitude for each of those patterns running that you want to have more of. Then you're at the Akasha level. From there we go into light, the light of the Spirit. The light of the Spirit recognizes everything that exists has spiritual light underneath it. And this is where the reframing of the philosophy of what you're doing comes into play. You're not looking at this anymore from a perspective of good and bad. That you're not looking at it from a perspective of separation. You remove all those things and recognize there's a inherent oneness. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm looking for my coffee vendor. It might be this way. Okay, so you've trained the non-dual light, 3 transformations. You're working with inside the light of consciousness. You've recognized from within that light that the fabric of all living things is mind, and that mind resonates light, and everything is connected to a light field as it's coming into creation. And you start functioning from that level. You connect to light, you relate to observing how things work from light, to your types of intention, to your types of identity, to your types of hitting critical mass, are now an accumulation of non-dual light expressing itself in form via this Akashic flux. So how do we do this to make it effective? You need to spend an adequate amount of time doing 3 transformations, so the bridges between the bodies are opened. You need to have at least 100 hours of just simply paying attention to your light body, recognizing I am light, with unified field. Everything is connected, and you're an aspect of that, and you're a part of it, and you are it. So these stages of identity of connecting to the infinity of universal mind, and these stages are a bit, how do we put it, mind warping in a way, because how can you be God? This is a type of, that's impossible, that's silly, and the mind, the ego, will argue with it. But when you're in union with divinity, you are divinity, and you recognize the infinity of creation through that light. And this light is constantly elevating upwards and rising upwards towards what some might call nirvana. So there's degrees of changes within that oneness. Now, right from the most basal level of connecting to life force, we are working with this identity of types of connection to universal mind or God substance. So life force field, living mind at its basal level within the shamanistic traditions is touching God. So you might go, well, that's pretty easy. Yes and no. You need to totally let go of all your astral fabrications and achieve equanimity inside life force to really touch the living mind of the universe. And this entry level into the Tao is really the fabric of Taoism. You train that one exercise, you read any Taoist literature and you go, of course, I got it, I understand it, makes sense. There's a type of sensibility to Taoism. There's a type of sensibility to the religions of the world. That's how it works. A part of you knows, a part of you understands, a part of you can comprehend it and really appreciate it. Okay, so Let's continue. Now, you've been working with light. You connect from light to your meditation object. You hit critical mass of light streaming through and expressing itself as a frequency of what you want to do, say Tai Chi, Qi Gong. It might be a healing ability, it might be a psychic ability. Whatever that ability is, you're really connecting to it through light and expressing it from your light body. So what does this do compared to doing the way we described earlier? The difference is primarily in the intuitive mind's insight and understanding of what it's doing. When you're expressing something from light, there's an intuitive guidance system that really knows its stuff. It knows what it's doing, it knows how to do it, and you get a sense of just opening up the universal library in the Akasha and going, this is how the Dharma functions. This is how it works. This is how I do it. There's a very high degree of naturalness inside of working with metaphysical principles when you're vibrating inside of this light. So for instance, when I make these videos, I move into that light body, I invoke the Dharma, then I invite it into speech. So I generally don't know what I'm going to talk about before I make a video, unless a person's asked me a question, I'm answering someone's question. So this energy just comes through, the library doors open, there's a need in the group consciousness, that need gets pulled through the light, and I speak about those teachings. That's the need. Now that need might be for one particular student who's watching my videos. It might be a part of the group consciousness, or it may be synced for different people at different time continuums for the information to flow. But it's essentially what's happening. Connecting to the light body, letting that energetic quality pull information through. Now, my life's purpose is that of a teacher. My purpose is not to be a master of Qigong, it's not to be a master of Tai Chi, it's not to do those things. My body can't do them. It can't maintain gravity and stress on itself to express those things effectively without my body suffering. But what I can do is accumulate light qualitatively and express information through my voice cords. Just let it go through me. So that's my life's purpose. I focus on that. The question you ask yourself is, what is your life's purpose? How can you be of service? How can you help people? Allow yourself to do exactly that. To pass knowledge, pass teachings, pass healing, pass Tai Chi, Qi Kung, create new training systems, and move through those levels with a sense of freedom to be able to do that efficiently. This is what the light gives you. The next thing it gives you is when it comes time to leave the body at the end of this incarnation, you have no fear of death. Your body might be sticky still, and your body's afraid of death if you haven't integrated that light into your physical body. But your mind is free. Your mind will go, I know where I'm going, I've been there 1,000 times. And you just feel free to move into that light comfortably, easily, and find a deep sense of, this feels good to be there. And you can let go of your body comfortably. When you let go of the body, your mind raises into that light realm because you've hit critical mass with it, and it's a center of gravity of consciousness. And that center of gravity of consciousness, it's like a magnet, pulls the mind up after death. And this is what we're after with getting this stage truly mastered. Okay, so I hope this helps with developing the 100-hour challenge. What are the benefits? Different methods of approaching it. And if you're working on a vibrational scale to develop a skill or a series of techniques to get that skill to manifest, put 100 hours in each one. Take the time out and manifest your goals. Okay, thank you for your time, and I will see you on the next video.